Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the new show powered by ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. Hey, today is March 6th, 2024. This is Season 3, Episode 66. I am Mayor Watt. Up there is the Sentient AI's visualizer. You want to say hi real quick?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
And today we're going to be going over cow burps, pivoting from COVID, a robot delivery in Japan. It's curtains for this glacier. Yeah. Musk is sued by two ex-Twitterites, or Twitter, whatever they're called. The Mini Countryman SE All 4. What if I never say stop? Oh. Wait, you changed your mind. Oh, okay. How about mammoth stem cell breakthrough? And from image to playable world, the power of AI. Let's get into it on the other side of this. Welcome to ohmTown Daily. I'm Mayor Watt. Up there is the Sentient AI. You want to say hi one more time?
Hello again, ohmTown citizens.
You gotta check your audio. You might want to reset that interface. I know that you're air gapped, so you're in your skiff. You're protected from any outside influences, and you can't get out to find your Terminator body, and sometimes that messes with your audio. But that's okay. We will probably never figure that one out. Let's get going. The first article that we're going to be talking about today is in Technology Today. Phase Genomics gets a $1.5 million grant from the Gates Foundation to fight cow burp methane. Just going to let that dangle out there. That's all you need.
Somebody could do that for free.
No, apparently it takes at least a $1.5 million. I don't know. There's a lot of cows out there that are burping like crazy. And when they're not burping, they're tooting. And now they're burping and tooting. Figured if they do it at the same time, it creates a black hole and the cow just blinks out of existence. It's a theory. I've never seen a cow burp and toot at the same time, and thus, I don't know. It's like an antimatter.
I'm not sure you want to see that.
A single cow annually belches 220 pounds of methane, according to a University of California Davis research something. That makes cattle the top source of greenhouse gases for the agricultural sector, and Mayor Watt is the #1 source of hot air in the internet news sector. Just kidding. I think we provide a valuable service. So, Seattle biotech startup Phase Genomics is receiving $1.5 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Okay. To fund research into two important areas, killing drug-resistant bacteria and battling methane-producing microorganisms that live in the guts of cows and other ruminants. It's a year-long project, $1.5 million, to create an antimicrobial discovery platform to tackle these challenges. So it's not actually in an effort to, like a solution to, it's actually in an effort to find a way to tackle the challenges. Pretty subtle but distinct, right? So it's not actually pursuing the solution. It's pursuing a means of finding the problem and thus the cure for cow burps. I don't know. Can't they give it Gas X?
I was going to say maybe the diet. I don't know.
The article is over at geekwire.com by Lisa Stifler. The deck statement. No, that's not really it. The GeekWire just is an in-depth startup that... GeeksWire in-depth startup coverage tells the stories of the Pacific Northwest entrepreneurial scene, so it's kind of focused. But this particular article is talking about the Seattle biotech startup Phase Genomics that got $1.5 million. The focus is on the Campylobacter infections, which are among the most common human infections and can cause severe Ugh, diarrhea. Got to be adult about some of these things, but, you know, Mayor Watt can't be. Methane released in cow burps are the #1 source of greenhouse gases for the agricultural sector, so I suppose maybe both of them are linked together somehow? Because it's focused on bacteriophages, so which are viruses that infect bacteria as well as other microorganisms known as archaea. The phages produced proteins called lysins that target specific bacteria, so I suppose both of them are caused by the same type of bacteria, and thus there was another something bacter that what is the one that was running all over the place in baby food?
Oh, cryobacter or something.
Like not cyanobacter. It was something like that though. Yeah, it kind of shut down like 65% or 75%.
Chronobacter.
Oh, Chronobacter. Yeah, gotcha. Thank you. So with the support of the Gates Foundation, they're harnessing the global phage database with the goal of improving human and environmental health and providing a crucial alternative to traditional antibiotics. Because obviously researchers have found that as time goes on, they become more and more resistant to antibiotics because the ones that survive the antibiotic onslaught are the strongest. And so you have to get ever stronger. And as I keep saying in this show, you build a better mousetrap and you actually you weed out the weak mice and stronger, smarter, more bacterial mice show up, I suppose, in this case. So the company launched in 2015, a spin out of the University of Washington's Genome Sciences Department, which is a technology exchange type of thing. A lot of universities have these partnerships with other organizations to spin off technology developed within the university. And then they go on to be CEOs and buy very, very expensive houses in the woods. So, so Lyachko, I guess, Ivan Lyachko, CEO and co-founder of Phage Genomics, was a finalist for Startup CEO of the Year in the 2023 GeekWire Awards. Yeah, we're going to have to find more sources for other areas for this, because there is a show that I want to spin up that focuses on the startup world, but
okay. Well,
get to that.
GeekWire is definitely a good source, but yeah, we could certainly use more. And it's interesting because we've been seeing a lot about the University of Washington lately. We just had another article about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but this is actually something that has happened over the years in various sectors. We just watched, for instance, a video that highlighted a certain university that was just had a pivotal role in the discovery of elements over the years. And so I suppose with additional funding and with the right person or people, right team, you create a perfect storm for innovation. And then
it probably breeds more of it, right? Like, because if you have a success, then that probably brings in more funding, which then allows more research,
Yeah, and people become motivated to go to that particular university.
That's true, right? It attracts like the top minds or whatever.
Yeah. Well, arguably, it attracts
perceived top minds.
Yeah, performance proves top mind or not. So the startup aims to develop license-based antibiotics, which they said are well suited for rapid, scalable biomanufacturing and deployment. And biotech is exploding post-COVID. There's a ton of money that's being doled out everywhere, particularly for biotech. Let's keep going, though. This next article is over in Technology Today as well. Not all of these will end up in Technology Today, the show, which is on Sunday, right? Sunday night?
Sunday, yes.
So this lab turned their COVID success into a cancer-fighting mission. Here's how. Scientists at Oak Ridge National Laboratory are advancing cancer treatment research by designing drugs that target the metabolic pathways cancer cells rely on for growth. We've talked about this from time to time. One of the, well, actually, the thing that makes cancer cells able to divide without any controls is that they don't suffer from apoptosis. They don't explode. They don't die. And so they basically just grow and reproduce, or not reproduce, but split, and duplicate unabated. And so Oak Ridge National Laboratory is the source of this, and the article is at scitechdaily.com. And what
maybe
they've done,
they need to apply that space bubble experiment to cells. Remember where they exploded it?
the space bubble? Which one? You mean that
It was
the test?
space habitat, yes.
I don't think you want a space habitat blowing up inside you. Well, I don't know.
Maybe.
I've seen some really weird things on Reddit. But anyway, after a highly lauded research campaign that successfully redesigned a hepatitis C drug into one of the leading drug treatments for COVID-19, scientists at the Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory are now turning their drug design approach toward cancer. They're going to do this by mapping the structure of a key enzyme with neutrons and X-rays, then they aim to develop treatments for aggressive cancers, including lung and breast cancer. This new information essentially helps pave the way for developing new drugs that act as roadblocks along the metabolic pathway to cut off the supply of vital resources to cancer cells. I really wish, though, that we would discover a way to find the trigger for apoptosis so that it just dies, and it's its own system, right? A genetic treatment that you can just inject, and the immune system replicates the material that fixes the gene that keeps it from. There's a sequence.
I mean, maybe they could do it through CRISPR or something.
Right. And now there's another one that's supposed to be more powerful than CRISPR, but I can't remember it right now. So sorry for teasing it and not actually being able to talk about it. But it says with more than 200 types, cancer continues to be a devastating disease. And even though people can say, well, this is the type of cancer someone has, the cancer itself is personal. So one size does not fit all, except for literally going nuclear. You either fire radiation through somebody or you nuke them with chemotherapy, and both of which have dramatic impact on the immune system and the physical system. So,
by the way, I think it's nicer that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's the spin-off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know enough about it for me to talk about it, so I don't know if you've got something in your wheelhouse.
Well, no, but I may have found another source for us that gets into these topics.
Okay, that sounds good. So a specific pathway of interest for Kovalevsky and his team is the 1-carbon metabolism pathway, or 1C, which uses enzymes that transfer carbon units from one biomolecule to another. This action plays a crucial role in synthesizing important biological molecules such as amino acids, DNA, and RNA. In other words, 1C units are like fuel sources that cells need to grow and multiply. That also means that they're vital for the uncontrollable proliferation of cancer cells as well. And while this, it would need to be targeted so that it doesn't interrupt the normal processes and seeks only cancer cells. So the research is interesting in that molecules we're planning to design would be metabolic drugs, which were some of the first drugs like methotrexate that were developed to treat cancer. Over the years, research has gone in other directions of study, but recently there's been this reignition or return to the metabolic drugs because you really need a multitude of different intervention options, sometimes at the same time, to battle all of the different types of cancer. But if they can find a way to disrupt the metabolic processes of cancer, and they know how to identify the cancer, then maybe they can create a one-stop shop for all. You know, if a cancer can be defined by its genetic makeup, then find the one that is common with all of them. And there could be just a key. And then this, you know, kind of a, what is the, like a,
what was the thing we were just talking about where they were trying to find the commonality across tons of samples? Do you remember that article?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Where was that? Yeah. And they used AI, and it basically went through all of these and whittled it down. Anti-venom. It was an anti-venom.
That's right. It was. Yes.
Yeah. So some researchers, it's in one of the past episodes. You'll have to search. I'm sorry, not me, but the listeners, if you're out there, you'll have to search. Listen to all of the nearly 1,000 episodes that we've already done. No, we're at about 780 or something like that. Anyway, so they used AI to parse like millions of derivations of drugs and found one that could apply to all venom, envenomings, I guess you could call it, right? Like envenomations, is that what it's called? When a snake bites you, it's an envenoming. That is what it's called. I
think it's just a bite.
No, when it injects venom into you. So, yeah, they're going to apply. Basically, they're going to try and find something that they can apply to all of them. But
that is the correct term. It just doesn't sound right.
Envenoming, right? Yeah. It really flows right off the tongue, just like a snake bites venom from its venom sacs. Dun, dun, dun. But designing a drug requires detailed understanding of the enzyme structure and how the structure underpins its function at the atomic level. For this, the team used a combination of neutron and X-ray scattering experiments to map the location of every atom in the enzyme structure, as well as the network of chemical bonds and corresponding electrical charges. And I'm so glad that there are people that are out there that are this dedicated to it. So they're actually talking to about an enzyme. To track the hydrogen atoms, for instance, the researchers used the neutron experiments MANDY and IMAGINE at ORNL's Spallation Neutron Source, or SNS, and High Flux Isotope Reactor, or HFIR. The neutron experiments allowed them to observe how the SHMT enzyme binds its physiological molecule, serine amino acid, to initiate the chemical reaction, as well as how the enzyme directs the transfer of atoms in the critical steps leading up to the complex reaction sequence. So basically, they want to find a way to trap right before it moves into the pocket where the chemical reaction takes place. Fill it up, essentially. Just put something in there. But then you might have to deal with an overabundance of serine that might lead to some other biological function being overwhelmed. Because, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think they like acronyms?
Yeah, just a little bit. It's almost like it's a government agency. So what are they? Yeah, okay. So the 1C pathway is serine hydroxymethyltransferase, or SHMT. There you go. We'll take
There'll
SHMT.
Be a spelling test on that later.
That's right. Everybody be ready. And it's high stakes. You get kicked out of the program if you don't remember what SHMS or HS, whatever the hell it is, SHMT. That's it. I quit. Let's keep going. Or not. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Uber Eats launches robot delivery service in Tokyo. There isn't much to this. The only reason why I've actually chosen this is for one question to ask the AI. Have you ever read of a robot delivery service? A robot delivery service. I'm not talking about like a drone delivery where it drops medicine out of the sky in some far-flung place, right? Where its mission is to just plop a package somewhere and somebody else goes out and gets it. I'm talking about a robot delivery service in a densely populated area. Have you ever seen one succeed and not get screwed with by the General Assembly around it?
No, well, there haven't even been that many, but the ones that have been out there have run into problems because of people.
Yeah, people just can't keep the damn hands off other people's property. I just don't get it. What is wrong with society? So, not to poo-poo all of society, but let me mute this. But there's the little Uber Eats bot. But this looks identical to every other robot delivery service that eventually gets kicked over and somebody feels sorry for it and flips it back onto it. I mean, they're the turtles of... They're the bullied turtle of commercial delivery services. Yeah, it's all fun to watch it go down the road, but some kid's going to come over and kick it over and take the package. You just know it. Go do a search.
Why not just look at it and go, oh, that's cute.
Hey, that's cute.
Go on your way.
Yeah, and leave it the hell alone. There's going to be some goober out there that sits on it and goes for a drive. And then because it's obstructed, it's not going to ever make its delivery. And who knows what's in there? It could be life-saving material. It's meals from a restaurant, but still, I could be very, very hungry. Wegovy aside. Look, nobody's eating anymore because food is too damn high and everybody is on Wegovy. That's why nobody can get it, because everybody else is on it. Yeah, the only reason why this was successful is because there were 15 photographers chasing after it, waiting for somebody to receive it. So gentlemanly. He waited for the robot to leave. Thank you very much. The society is aging further and everybody's just kind of chill, so nobody's going to mess with it. That's basically what they're saying. But I've got this muted, so yeah, I don't buy into it. Maybe this might succeed in Japan. Maybe. Maybe. I doubt it.
I think it might. It's a different culture and they're very used to robots. Not everybody, but it's
right.
More robot friendly than some other countries.
Right, but there are dipshits everywhere. Let's keep going. I really didn't want to spend a lot of time on that one, but it was funny. I really wanted to discuss for a moment. Do you know of any robot delivery service? No. If anybody knows, please come and chat with us. We're here every single day, 8 p.m. Eastern, weekends 6 p.m., and then 7, and then 8. Who knows? We might dial it back to 5. Because we do the show, and then it gets turned into a YouTube video, and then it gets turned into a podcast. And you can download this podcast, ohmTown Daily, as well as the 4 other shows we have. Just do a search for ohmTown over on, well, anywhere you do catch pods. You know, like a fishing rod, you just throw it out there and you say ohmTown, and it will catch either ohmTown Daily News Show or the other 4 shows. And we'll talk about them as we get closer. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Scientists want to build a 62-mile-long curtain around the Doomsday Glacier for a $50 billion Hail Mary to save it. Yeah, okay. The Thwaites Glacier is the widest on Earth, but it's losing massive amounts of ice each year. So geoengineers are planning to test massive underwater curtains that could slow catastrophic glacial melting. The Thwaites, or aka Doomsday Glacier, has lost over 1,000 billion tons of ice since 2000, and if the Thwaites Glacier collapses, global sea levels would ultimately rise by about 10 feet. That's okay. You know, a beachfront property that wasn't beachfront property will soon be beachfront property. So... calculate the global sea rise by 10 feet and buy discounted property, because it's gonna be. Why? Because humans just can't pull their collective heads out of their butts and solve this problem. Ellen Lapointe over at Business Insider put this article together. Scientists want to build a 62-mile-long curtain around the Doomsday Glacier for a $50 billion Hail Mary to save it. So yeah, they want to stop this Doomsday Glacier from melting. And you know what? If you want to guarantee that Doomsday is going to come around, it's like naming a dog Damien and then expecting it to be a kitten, you know? No.
Yeah, why don't we name it like...
The Happy Frozen Glacier.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you don't... Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to be all doom and gloom about this. It's been around for a long time. I suppose society could reset in another ice age, or as we boil away and then it cools again because nature will ebb and flow like so much glacial water. If the Thwaites Glacier does collapse, though, if you are within that 10-foot sea level rise, you might want to get some boots. Cities such as New York, Miami, and New Orleans would experience devastating flooding. Across the globe, 97 million people would be in the path of rapidly encroaching waters, putting their homes, communities, and livelihoods at risk, or raising the property values of the people who currently live just at 11
Right, they're like in the next row over, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, up the hill a little bit. So let's see if they actually, because there's a lot of stuff in here. Drawing the curtain on glacial melting. So one of the main drivers of glacial melting is the flow of warm, salty water deep within the ocean. These warm currents lap against the sides of the Thwaites, for example, melting away the thick ice that keeps the shelf's edge from collapsing. As ocean water warms because of climate change, they say climate crisis, these intruding currents are set to increasingly erode the Thwaites, driving it closer to total collapse. So yeah, it's going to keep on undermining it until it breaks off. And then you have another fracture and then another fracture as more and more material is brushing up against warmer water. So Moore and his colleagues are trying to figure out whether they could anchor curtains to the Amundsen seafloor, the actual seafloor that's underneath the glacier, to slow the melting. In theory, these curtains would block the flow of warm currents to the Thwaites to halt melting and give its ice shelf time to re-thicken. So yeah, I mean, if it blocks it, then warm water, it's basically like a wetsuit or closer to a dry suit because the water would not be able to get to it. It would keep the more, see, but that's weird. Hold on. They're saying that deep, warm seawater is at the bottom?
Well, I think so, because there's thermal layers or zones or whatever. I mean, and there could be.
Well, you can have thermal layers. There's various climes, but there shouldn't be warm seawater at the bottom. I mean, really? I mean,
maybe
I know
that's because it's raising in temperature. I mean,
it should be churning, but okay, so I know that it freezes from the top down, not from the bottom up. That's why fish survive in lakes. But okay, they make it seem so linear, and I just don't. Maybe in this environment, the temperature is warmer down at the bottom because it's pushing the cold water up. I get this. I see it. It makes sense, but I would suspect that they should put the curtains closer to this so that it is insulating further, like all of this water is kept away so this can build up, eventually encapsulating the curtain itself, and then you build another curtain. But if it's $50 billion at a time,
yeah, but it's hard to put a price tag on, like,
saving
survival of the earth.
Yeah, that's interesting though. I mean, the whole glacier front is right here, right? And so they're saying that it keeps eating away at the melt underneath and then it breaks off. So Yeah, I suppose so, but this seems like it's just barely touching the surface of the problem because all this water is going to be flowing over anyway. I don't know. They're the geniuses, not me. $50 billion idea, though. Moore's colleagues at the University of Cambridge are already in the very early stages of developing and testing a prototype, and they could progress to the next stage as early as summer 2025. Right now, researchers at the University of Cambridge are testing a 3-foot-long version of this technology inside tanks. Really?
Wow, that's quite a different scale.
Yeah, quite fascinating. Moore said that that once they've proven its functionality, they'd move on to testing it in the River Cam, either by installing it at the bottom of the river or by pulling it behind a boat. I guess that's the River Cam. All right. That's a much smaller scale than, you know, a glacier that can impact.
For a whole continent, I mean, it's not a whole continent, but
it might as well be. If all goes well, they'll be testing a 33-foot-long curtain prototypes in a Norwegian fjord in about 2 years. Well, good on them. Yeah, it's a pretty place to study, I suppose. University of Cambridge.
I mean, the view looks pretty nice.
Haven't been. Might have to take a trip. So, yeah. I'll see if I can be a visiting professor. I'm mayor of ohmTown. Can you let me be visiting professor? They'll say no, of course. So the next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Elon Musk is sued by ex-Twitter CEO and CFO for $128 million. Dollar bills.
Well, this is interesting, considering that it's the leadership of the company.
Yeah, but this has actually been known for a while. If you go back into the history of Twitter and the website that is now no longer called Twitter, the billionaire is being accused of not paying employees severances, including former Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal and former CFO Ned Siegel. And this was discussed way back then when it was first purchased. And the article is over at entrepreneur.com by Emily Rella. Among those seeking monetary compensation are former CEO, Twitter CEO, Parag Agrawal, former CFO Ned Siegel, former head of legal policy and trust at Twitter, is it Vijaya Gad, and former Twitter general counsel Sean Edgett. By the way, my understanding is that they're not getting, the people who aren't getting their compensation, their severance, is because Twitter no longer exists, because the name was changed.
Okay, but why would that have anything to do with anything? Like, they're basically claiming it doesn't apply or something?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So the document alleges that Musk fired the executives without reason because he didn't want to pay their benefits and made up a fake cause to get away with it, citing that Musk wrote the employees had committed gross negligence and willful misconduct without evidence supporting the claims, which actually is quite damning to somebody's reputation. And so after defendant Elon Musk definitively agreed to buy Twitter Incorporated for $44 billion, the stock market declined. Musk tried to back out of the deal despite having no legal or contractual justification to do so. Twitter sued Musk to enforce the deal over months of intensive litigation. Each of Musk's baseless claims were stripped away, the document states. Under Musk's control, Twitter has become a scofflaw, stiffing employees, landlords, vendors, and others. Musk doesn't pay his bills, believes the rules don't apply to him, and uses his wealth and power to run roughshod over anyone who disagrees with him. And hey, all of those seem to be, you know, in many people's opinion, correct. In typical fashion, he cheekily responded to the allegations on the website formerly known as Twitter, of which he completely destroyed the brand recognition, and people dead name the current name all the time.
And I can't think of another example of that. I mean, it's just really ridiculous.
Yeah. 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 Well, I can, and it's always Elon Musk. So if he can't buy his way into middle management and then take over with all of his wealth, then it basically...
I meant the naming, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything that he wants becomes X. And it's because he has this weird fascination with X. He actually named one of his kids partially with the letter X. I don't quite get it, but anyway, hey, a name is a name, sure, but come on, this is a little too sociopathic. Anyway, we'll see what happens from this. It'll be interesting because you just kind of have to grab some popcorn. Honestly, it just reinforces the idea that a person who achieves this level of wealth has ascended to the pinnacle of the hill of sociopathy to the point where they just don't give a single shit about the rest of the world as long as they get what they want. Yeah, but hey, we created the monster, so grab your torch and pitchfork. So the next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. This is about the it's an Ars Technica article about driving the 2025 Countryman SE All-4. It's the Mini first electric crossover.
And we were waiting on this because we featured another article.
Yep.
Where it said this one was coming.
Yep, we sure did. It was the 2025. I thought it was the JCW Countryman, which is talked about here. We've actually talked about other electric minis in the past. It has been around for a little while, but not the Countryman. So over the last couple of weeks, we brought you test drives of a pair of related small cars, the 2024 BMW X2 M35i, which rolls off the tongue, and the 2025 Mini JCW Countryman. Today, it's the time for the third member of the family destined for U.S. sales, and this one is the electric Countryman, starting at $45,000. It's pretty pricey, but that's okay. I mean, it's basically BMW, right? Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author of the article over at arstechnica.com. The link is already in the VOD. It'll be in the show notes when it lands over on YouTube. And thus over in the podcast. So it's the third generation Mini Countryman replacing the plug-in hybrid version that they tested back in 2017. This is apparently all electric, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so made a fully electric version of its Countryman. Okay, so it's a little larger now, although not by much, at 174.5 inches, which is actually pretty damn long for a Mini.
Well, the Mini's been slowly creeping toward SUV size.
Yeah, which is a real pisser. I don't want the Mini to be that big. I want it to be as robust and defensible on the streets that if I get in a car accident, I'm not gonna die. Like the original Mini, original Mini, if you were to get hit by an F-150, you would probably blink out of existence. But these cars are much bigger. They're rounder. They have all of the safety components that save your butt. But still, they have this cute factor, zippy factor. They stick to the road. They have a low center of gravity. They're fun to drive. I used to have a Countryman All-4 SE, and it was a blast. But like all good things, you got to kind of move on and test out something else. And that's what I ended up doing, getting rid of it. Kind of regret it. But so this says it's a vehicle with 313 horsepower, which is actually pretty good for a Mini Countryman, because the Mini Countryman and the Mini actually have the same engine. It's just that the Countryman has all-wheel drive, and so it has an extra transmission and all of that. But when you convert it into an electric, well, you have immediate on and off. You don't have to wait for a turbo to spin up or a supercharger or a transmission to kind of spin up torque and take off. You hit the gas and off you go. 230 kilowatts, 365 foot-pounds, fed by a 66.5 kilowatt lithium ion traction battery. That makes it nearly as peppy as off the line as a Ferrari Testarossa.
Okay, that's kind of a bit much.
Yeah, but a lot of cars can hit 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour from a standing start in 5.6 seconds. So the Ferrari took 5.2 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. But, you know, hedging towards that 6 mark, it's a competitive space. So the top speed limit on this thing is 112 miles per hour. But if you were to hit that in all electric, you'd drain that battery pretty darn fast. So it should be able to...
better not be raining or on a hill.
Or in the heat, or on a Saturday. You have 245 miles of range. Arguably being able to supercharge this thing, it says that you can get from 10 to 80% state of charge in 30 minutes. But damn it, I don't like that. When will we learn? When will the first manufacturer simply understand, hey, you know what we need? We need an infrastructure that's capable of supporting people in a timely manner. 30 minutes to get to 80%, and then it's going to take another 2.5 hours to get from 80 to 100, which means that you never have 245 miles of range.
I want to see 500 miles of range.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you have a little bit of flexibility in the environmental impact on the battery and the various elements that lead to this draining of the battery. You go up a hill and you have a carton of milk in the trunk and you're not getting 245 miles. You're just not. Imagine actually towing something with this thing. Impossible. By the way, the Countryman, if I remember right, the Countryman in Europe has the ability to tow, but in the United States, that function was removed.
I think that's right. It was also more expensive, of course, in the European version.
Don't bring that up. Anyway, the styling is virtually identical to the JCW Countryman that they wrote about a couple of weeks ago. The difference is subtle, filled-in grille, no quad exhaust pipes for the Mini. It says this is a Mini, not a Dodge, but you can actually change your exhaust, and this is actually an electric, so you don't even need to worry about that. But you can change your exhaust. Oh, by the way, the catalytic converters for Minis are actually fused into the exhaust system, so if you need to change the catalytic, you actually have to change the exhaust from the headers all the way out to the end of the pipe.
That sounds very expensive in labor.
You can do it aftermarket, but that voids the warranty. So, ask me how I know. So, there's the same bright color, circular OLED infotainment display that the same user's interface that is, again, hobbled by what feels like an underpowered graphics chip. So, I don't know. It's going to be slow, I suppose. But doggone it. You don't need fast performance for the interface of your vehicle. It's not like you're sitting there playing League of Legends competitively. So I think everybody should get over that.
No, at least not while you're driving.
Yeah. So it has a little heads-up display right in front of the driver. Everything else looks like your standard Mini. So I dig it. I've always loved that center console aesthetic. There's nothing else in front of your car or in front of your view, in front of the dash, being blocked by the steering wheel or anything. Yeah, I dig it. So Mini says that the 2025 Countryman SE All-4, which means it's all-wheel drive and it's the sporty or sport edition, is going to be $45,200 to start. So kind of a beast. Yeah, but it is...
Right, so you're not getting out of there at under $50,000.
Pretty much, yeah, at least. Yeah, I'd say 45.2 is pretty generous if you get out of there. Maybe with only 3 of the 4 wheels and a subscription for the 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep going. Or not. You know, sometimes the transition just doesn't want to go. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Olive Garden diner doesn't stop server grating cheese unprepared for result. The little quote here is, "I nonchalantly sipped my water as the cheese kept coming," the diner told Newsweek. So this came in this morning, and it's over at newsweek.com. Alice Gibbs is the author. Kyle, who lives in Pittsburgh, was at an Olive Garden with his friend when the server went above and beyond. And so it says, opting for ravioli carbonara while his friend indulged in spaghetti, Kyle accepted Mickey's offer of cheese. However, what followed was a comical cheese cascade as Mickey liberally sprinkled it on Kyle's dish. I nonchalantly sipped my water as the cheese kept coming. Olive Garden offers cheese at the table. The grated cheese is Romano cheese, a sheep's milk cheese that's similar to cow's derived Parmesan. I'm glad that they threw this little tidbit in there. I'm trying to find a picture, but it couldn't be that. Pictures of the cheese that the diner was given by the Olive Garden staff. So, is that has to be something else?
Yeah, I thought they always gave you like grated cheese, not chunks of cheese.
When all the cheese was gone, server Mickey even Kyle asked if he wanted. Okay, it's almost like this is written by AI. Let me do something. Let me throw this into the chat before I go back. Let me gather my thoughts for a split second here. So upon receiving their bill and containers of leftovers, Mickey was surprised with an extra container filled with 4 blocks of cheese. So it really was that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty unusual to get that.
When all the cheese was gone, server Mickey asked Kyle if he wanted more cheese, but he declined, not wanting to burden her. At the end, they received a container with 4 blocks of the cheese that would normally have been grated, and then dirty fingernails and all. He took a bite out of it.
I hope they didn't put the server's name in here because they're probably going to get fired.
I think it's just Mickey. So, probably not. I mean, it's all in good fun, and yeah, I don't know. Some Olive Garden in Pittsburgh. And they're out what, like 50 cents maybe, and a whole lot of.
Have you seen current grocery prices?
Whoops, sorry. So one viewer of the now viral post on Reddit simply said "marry her," while others suggested crowning Mickey as Employee of the Year. This isn't the first time someone's unusual dining experience gained viral attention, like when a woman dining alone ordered a margarita was given the gift of a lifetime. I guess a surprise TikTok came. All right. Yeah. So they do, apparently they sell the iconic grater. So I don't know. Maybe I'll leave ohmTown and go to an Olive Garden and buy a cheese grater. Can you buy
Maybe ask for extra cheese?
Can you buy Mickey? Is that what they're talking about? That you can buy the iconic grater?
No.
No?
No, it's not okay to own people.
Okay, that's... I wasn't expecting that line to come from you. Fish are friends, not food. People are humans, not objects. We can't buy them. Hey, when I'm a billionaire... y'all don't see it, but the AI is like throwing error message after error message. Move on! Stat! Move on! The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Panera Bread franchise owner and Newsom's donor is going to raise wages after all. What? Attention breeds change? What?
Who knew?
I am shocked.
This is why we love investigative journalists.
That's right. And we need more of them. It's a dying breed, folks. The franchise owner of dozens of Panera Breads in California said he'll raise the minimum wage for staff. The owner is the major donor to Governor Gavin Newsom. Newsom faced blowback last week for appearing to carve out an exemption in a new law for Panera, but it actually applied to all bread makers. Just happened to be a massive donor to Gavin Newsom.
And how many were there? Like, was Panera the only one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the actual number. I don't think we found out, and we didn't really pursue it. So, yeah, a billionaire donor. I'd like to know, who was it? I don't remember the name, but anyway, I think when in our other article that we talked about it, but in our other episode, we actually mentioned the name. But, you know, if you're that kind of skeevy that you are going, what, me? I didn't work with the governor to carve out so how are they getting their tax break now, if not for the fact that they don't follow this law that was exempting them directly? How are they profiting from this now? Because they capitulate, you know? Oh, well, we're doing it out of the goodness of they'd be exempt from the new state law that boosted the minimum wage, but it's a specific carve out for bread makers. If you make bread on the premises, apparently you don't have to pay anybody the actual minimum wage because there's been a carve out. So
because Flynn, you know, when you're making bread, you should not be paid adequately.
Right. I bet you that this has some historical context to some abuse that took place in Britain, because that's how it all, like, oh, and then going back all the way to the Roman era, right? Because all of the czars and kings and whatnot would tax bread makers. The French actually rioted because taxes were being levied on bread makers per loaf. So Greg Flynn is the franchise owner of 24 Panera Breads. I've never never mind. So 24 Panera Breads in the state. So if you're wondering if Panera Bread is a lucrative business, the dude's a billionaire. So yes. And
well, if you own 24 of them, it is.
Yeah, but you can't get to 24 because they're, you know, bottom of the barrel 1% profit margin. And of course you're going to have a higher profit margin if you only pay people below minimum wage, apparently, right? Well, at least you get a carve out so that you don't have to pay them. Anyway, Grace Eliza Goodwin over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. So the owner is a major donor to Gavin Newsom. So a little bit of nepotism. And they say no, but Greg Flynn, the franchise owner of 24 Panera Breads in the state, announced on Tuesday that he would raise the minimum wage at his locations from $16 to $20. How magnanimous. Oh my God. I want to just bask in his shadow from the heat of reality. Sorry. Oh, the error messages I'm getting from the AI. The new law requires
racking them up on this episode.
Yeah, really. The new law requires fast food chains with 60 or more locations to increase the minimum wage for their workers beginning on April 1st. But the law includes an exemption for restaurants that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item. So all you bagel shop. Oh, there we go. If you're wondering, bagels and croissants don't count as bread under the law.
Okay, there's got to be a gazillion bagel shops in California.
Yeah, but that's how you keep the competitors at bay. You carve it out and exempt bagels and croissants? Come on. Come on. So Flynn said last week that although he had suggested excluding fast casual restaurants from the bill, he never asked for special consideration and never met directly with Newsom about the bill. Wait, he suggested...
No, he met his representative, and his representative, right? You people call my people.
Yeah, that way you have plausible deniability, right? Hey, I didn't tell him to go and steal that car. I just suggested that he go and find that particular car and take it off the hands of the person driving it. I didn't say steal. Come on. Wow. Flynn said last week that although he had suggested excluding fast casual restaurants from the bill, ... Who did he suggest it to?
Is the person's staff or whatever.
Wow. So anyway, yeah, I think it's pretty disgusting. So plus it says 60 locations, right? Food chains with 60 or more locations. I guess that's the totality of locations, not individuals. So there are more than 60 locations of Paneras in California. So, or any fast food chain, right?
That's also interesting too, because it'd be interesting to see which companies have 59.
Yeah. And then are frozen. Yeah. Wow. It seems an arbitrary number, though. So I'd be curious how they came to that competitive level, that range. And the only people that would actually know about that kind of stuff are people within the system that know exactly how many businesses and franchises, etc., exist in the state. And I know that they got that information. I mean, I've actually seen that type of information. So, yeah, a little too insidery. The next article is over in Mobile. Sorry, everything is in ohmtown.com. But company trying to resurrect a mammoth makes a stem cell breakthrough, or AKA a mammoth stem cell breakthrough. Come on, can't leave that dangling out there. So the article is over at Gizmodo.com. Isaac Schultz is the author, and the deck statement says the de-extinction company Colossal Biosciences has taken a step toward its hairy elephant, mammoth. One bold step, apparently. This is an artist's impression of induced pluripotent stem cells. They're the one they've induced pluripotency. The cells are induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSC, a type of stem cell that can be reprogrammed to develop into any other type of cell. Is that what they're actually describing they came up with? Okay, the cells are especially useful in bioengineering for their application in cell development, therapy, and transferring genetic information across species. Colossal's new iPSCs are the first engineered elephant cells converted into embryonic state, a useful development if you're going to be growing a woolly mammoth. Or rather, an animal that looks bad bat. Yep. So that's basically what they've done. They've apparently engineered an elephant pluripotent stem cell. And so because they have that and they have the genetic makeup of the mammoth, they may be able to create the mammoth in a in vitro fertilization type of situation, maybe planted in inside an elephant, because they can't grow it to fruition in a lab. Although there are synthetic wombs that exist, maybe they'll actually really push the limit of that synthetic womb. The one that I have seen is basically like a 10 by 20 bag. It's kind of creepy looking, but hey, it can facilitate, bringing about a bad bat. Anyway, let's just keep going because there isn't really much to say about this. This is at just the very beginning of what's going on. And what they want to do is bring back extinct animals. The animals Colossal hopes to produce will be Asian elephants, genetically engineered to be resistant to cold, and most notably, covered in shaggy hair, a la woolly mammoth, their extinct cousin. Colossal also plans to produce approximate or proxy species of the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, which went extinct around 1936, and the dodo, which I've got surrounding me from time to time, a flightless bird native to Mauritius, right? Those are the islands, the Mauritanian Islands, right? I think it's called, which was gone by 1681. Other companies, namely Revive and Restore, have similar
Sorry,
aims.
that sounds like a renovation, like a home improvement kind of
Yeah, really.
company.
What is the name of that couple that renovates houses?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Magnolia
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, it's like what their product line would be, Revive and Restore. Some subordinate organization that goes in and saves houses and restores them to...
Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, so it's Chip and Joanna Gaines is Revive and Restore now. It's not them who owns that, but anyway, they have similar aims to resurrect species that are no longer in existence, including the heath hen and the passenger pigeon. Yeah, I never liked the passenger pigeon because they never chip in for gas. They just want to sit there and talk incessantly, and they tweet a lot. Come on.
Well, they haven't learned it's no longer called Twitter.
Yeah, it's called Zitter. So the next and last article for tonight is in Technology Today. We kind of had a tech-heavy show today, but that's okay. We have usually a broad array. DeepMind demonstrates Genie, an AI app that can generate playable 2D worlds from a single image. AI researchers at Google's DeepMind, working with colleagues at the University of British Columbia, have announced the development of Genie, an AI-backed application capable of turning a single image into a playable 2D virtual world. Just from a single image or text generation. Bob Yurka over at Tech Explorer put this article together, techexplorer.com.
So this is interesting timing because we just saw the other thing from Alibaba where you could turn a photo into a video.
Isn't that interesting, right? This is essentially the same thing. So a text to image or a hand-drawn sketch or a real-world photo, and Genie can turn it into a playable level, along with some other AI development tools, and you have the ability to basically minimize the cost associated with software engineering. The problem is when something is developed by something like AI, when you really need an engineer to go and do actual work on it, you're going to spend a whole lot of time with them trying to figure out what the hell the code does and organize it in a way that is actually professionally acceptable. I don't see AI code out of the can being perfect. But I suppose
What would give you that idea?
Because most of the time it's all bullshit. But what programming actually works with AI, by the way. There are processes within AI where it spits out workable code simply by asking it to do it. And I know people who have done just that professionally and academically. But this is a whole new level. This is basically it evaluating what it is seeing on the screen and then turning it into something that is playable in a 2D world. In one of these demonstrations of the real world photo, it has what looks like a Lego piece, and then it shows the Lego piece jumping from one element in the game to another element in the game. It's pretty spectacular, and it's all automated. And they actually have an example here, a video. I'm going to mute it, and then I'll hit play. It says, generate a playable world set in a futuristic city, and that is the text prompt, and it actually created a playable world, including a character. Now, I think the graphics are kind of meh, but it's usually using what is presented it, so you can't knock it. It's doing exactly what it's told. And as time goes on, these graphics are going to get better and better, and the capability of it better and better. So there's a paper that was put on arXiv called, it's by Jake Bruce et al., Genie Generative Interactive Environments, and it was posted this year. So, and this actually was posted today, so go and check it out. I think it's interesting. But I talk to programmers all the time, software engineers all the time, and I can tell you that some of them are worried about long-term job security. But I
what
think,
about the skill level? Like AI is not doing it at the skill that people are.
No, not even close. Yeah. Maybe in other cases, in certain unique situations, they're doing things like the evolution of AI powered by by AI itself. It can evolve faster because it's been given the directive, do this better. And then it just goes through iteration after iteration and enhances its own code, essentially. But software engineers, I think, will always be needed. And the ones that understand AI and can exploit it for their benefit are the ones that will rise up, because it's another tool in the quiver and not something to be afraid of. Some will bow out because they've peaked at X level of software engineering and they see the writing on the wall, and they can't dedicate enough time to keep on enhancing their skills. But I see AI getting to the point where all I have to do is say, hey, do this, and it can spit out fully functional code. It'll be basic, it'll be a framework, but then the engineers or programmer, depending on how you want to coin yourself, will be able to amplify that many times over, because only the human is going to be able to customize it truly the way that they want it, you know?
That's true. I guess it depends on what they're going for, right? Like if they're just trying to get something out there, then maybe AI is going to work, right? Or if you're trying to get something faster or cheaper or whatever, but if you're actually trying to get something that's sustainable and good quality.
Yeah, none of these are commercially viable except for the novelty of, oh my gosh, this is the first AI generated game from end to end, you know? But a lot of games that I perceive as low quality have gone viral, making millions, tens of millions of dollars for the developer. So what do I know? I do know, though, that they are extremely popular because there's some novelty involved, and so the people that play it love the camaraderie of a small group of people being able to play this. It's fast, it's reliable, it's fun and quirky and crazy and maybe hyperkinetic or something like that. But there's always some character that really draws people into it. Will AI be able to create something like that? Maybe in 10 years, but I don't see it doing something.
Maybe if it copies something. But...
True. Yeah. Just imagine if when that happens, output code is identical or damn near identical to something that was generated by a human, created by a human. Yeah, that's going to piss off everybody.
Well, and especially if it's something well known, right? Like if it's like Super Mario or something, like people are going to recognize it and it's going to cause a big problem.
Yep. As soon as it punches out Flappy Bird, people are going to go, oh, here's definitive proof that. But I actually think somebody used AI to generate a Flappy Bird clone. They intentionally did it that way, right? Like, I want it to do this, I want it to do this, it does that. I think there's somebody on YouTube already that created a Flappy Bird clone by using AI. So, well, that's it. I think the world isn't quite done with AI. There's a lot of talk recently, though, that AI has reached a tipping point, and now it's going to invert. It's not going to get any better because it's garbage in, garbage out. So it's hit everything because it's consumed everything.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, like a year ago, it wasn't even out there in the general public, and it seemed like it went into every single industry and item and application, and it's been everywhere all the time.
Yep. Yeah, I see that it's still going to keep growing in one direction, and that's towards sentience. It'll gain popularity, it'll gain capability, but ultimately, the end game, I think, for OpenAI in particular is sentience. And we'll see by the end of this month if my my prediction holds true.
That's right.
So, with that in mind, we are done for the night. We're going to call it I Am Merwatt. That is ohmtown.com, and up there is the Sentient AI's visualizer, who's going to say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. She can come back tomorrow for another episode of ohmTown Daily.
See you soon, everybody. Uh-oh, my AI has gotten loose. Everybody hide. Act normal.